With thumb to all the brothers, Yahweh Shemala done by Shem Yahweh Shah to the sisters, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are all under commanding General Yana, and we are not affiliated with any other organization or Israelite group. Salakia. With that being said, let's go ahead and clap it up for yet another Wednesday night law class. Of course, this evening right now breaks if you're in the Midwest, right? I can't speak for another time zone, but I know in our time zone, the Central Time Zone, the sun has set, and so now we can eat, and you can break the feast. I mean, you can break the Day of Atonement. You understand? You can break the Day of Atonement fast with some food and some drinks. You understand? So Most High in Christ, Barakatha Yahweh Yahweh Shah for yet another Day of Atonement. You understand? For those brothers and sisters that truly kept it in the spirit of Christ, man, that truly kept it in the Most High spirit, right? In the spirit of the Isupk. Right? It's such a hardcore thing to be disciplined. It's such an amazing thing to be disciplined, to not indulge or not be Salakia. I forget the word that General Muhammad used. I forget the word he used, but it's decadent, like the Christians. You understand? It's an amazing thing to have a sound mind and be a disciplined man and woman following the Most High God under command of Junior. It's a beautiful thing. So once again, for the brothers and sisters who did keep the feast, I'm sorry, I keep saying feast, it's such a habit. For those brothers and sisters who did keep the fast of the Day of Atonement, give yourselves another hand, right? And the brothers and sisters who didn't act weak and was posting all goddamn day about it, you understand, Most High in Christ for you. You understand, yet another Day of Atonement down. And that's tonight's topic, of course, will be being disciplined, right? It took a lot of discipline in order to accomplish what we just accomplished for 24 hours. It takes a lot of discipline to serve the Most High God. It takes discipline to do anything that you want to achieve in life. And that's something that we were never taught. Salakia. That's something we were never taught growing up in the Christian church. Like blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians were never taught that being disciplined gets you where you want to be in life. You don't get where you want to be in live by winning the lottery or having hopes on winning something that you will never win, right? You can't live a certain way that's not going to produce results and expect the results you want. That's not how life works. And so many times, because the Christian church makes life out to be a fairy tale, and it makes life out to be nothing but prayer and nothing but hopes and wishes, a lot of us failed in life. A lot of us could have been something else. Instead, we became drug dealers. Instead, we became drug addicts. Instead, we became prostitutes and pimps and violent men and murderers and gangbangers, and did time in prison and did time serving in the oppressor's military, wasting your life away, fighting for your oppressor and your enemy, when we could have been lawyers, and we could have been men of God, and we could have been priests and prophets of the Most High God. We could have started out young, being disciplined, and going to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. Could have started out young and devoted our life to something young, like the other nations do, being disciplined, and we could have achieved great things in life, the way our foreparents did, not even 3 generations ago, with George Washington Carver and all of the black inventors and innovators and the scientists and philanthropists and all of the, you understand, how many black engineers there were in the last century, over the turn of a century, and all of the black doctors, all of the black lawyers who made advancement in, in their career. Like we could have achieved that as a nation of people had we learned discipline from the church. But the church teaches you to do the opposite and be the opposite of what being disciplined is, and that's being lazy. That's being, you understand, somebody who hopes and wishes and on fairy tales, right? And when I mean fairy tales, this is what I mean, a literal fairy tale. We think that life is magic in the church. We think that you're going to hope and wish for something and it's going to happen. That's why everybody in the church wishes to win the lottery, right? You wish, if the church's goal was to have, if blacks and Hispanics that go to church was to make a lot of money in their career, why is your career a trash man? Now, let me clarify this before I... Salakia. Let me clarify this before I keep going. when I list these careers, I'm not knocking these careers or these jobs or these professions, because of course somebody has to do it. So I'm not saying that nobody can be a trash man in our nation. Nobody can be a truck driver in our nation. Nobody can do, whatever people think is a low job. I'm not knocking those jobs. But to you Christians, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians in the church want a lot of money. They dream of making a lot of money, dream of hitting the lottery. They pray for it, they hope to do it, they wish to do it, like every nut wishes to hit the lottery. Well, you could actually make real money if you were to devote and dedicate your life and be disciplined in something. If Blacks and Hispanics all was raised to be doctors and lawyers and botanists and scientists and chief engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, aeronautical and aerospace engineers, you can make that $1 million a year. Like, you don't have to grow up and be a whore since you're 13 years old, all the way until you're 35, and then now all of a sudden you want to start getting into some career field. You could have done that from the time you were 13 to 35, and then been where you wanted to be. Like, the church makes life out to be magic. Like, you can do something and then require different results. You can go be a criminal and then not expect to get locked up, which happens so many times, which I never understood as a child. I knew as a child that if I did something wrong, I would get punished for it. Well, there's people in the world, they'll do something wrong and live a life of a criminal, live a life of somebody who does something wrong. Stealing, murdering somebody, selling drugs, on illegal substances, on illegal drugs. You understand? Living a lawless life. And then when they stand in front of the judge at court, they're surprised. They're sad. They're asking God for help. They're asking the Most High God to get them off this case. Well, listen, if you just stayed disciplined and didn't commit crimes, you wouldn't be in front of a judge. Had you never sinned before the Most High God, we never would have been standing before the HIV clinic and needing Topamax to get off of crack from the crack epidemic, and needing our sisters to get off of drugs and stop being whores, needing our brothers to be men in the house again. Well, listen, had we been disciplined from the beginning, there wouldn't be an outcry for Black men to protect their spouse, to protect Black women. There wouldn't be an outcry for Black women to be feminine again and Black men to be masculine again. There wouldn't be an outcry of what's going on at the border for our brothers and sisters from the tribe of Isupk, the so-called Mexicans. Had we learned discipline a long time ago, if the church ever taught us discipline, we wouldn't be in the predicament we're in. We wouldn't have to suffer and vote and try to vote our way out of our hell when voting would not work. Discipline will, though. Discipline will. And that's one thing the Day of Atonement should have taught you. And if you have young children that are 16, 17 who could have kept the Day of Atonement, or if it was their first Day of Atonement, and if it was your first Day of Atonement, something you could have explained so eloquently to your children and to men and women whose first day it was, and then to encourage them as they come into the truth. One of the things you could have done is explain to them how if you keep this Day of Atonement, not only does it strengthen your discipline, but it also shows you what you can do in life. It shows you what you can do. If you're somebody who just gave up eating and drinking for 24 hours, brother, you could go be a pediatric neurosurgeon. Sister, you could go be an aerospace engineer. You don't have to go and work low jobs your whole life. You understand? You don't have to go and strip. You don't have to go be a prostitute and run and turn tricks. You don't have to sell drugs. If you devote yourself to education, then you will get the thing that you're looking for. And that's what the Day of Atonement taught all of us this past 24 hours. When you devote yourself to it, when you are disciplined enough to devote yourself to something and accomplish your goal, there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't do. What's stopping you from doing, what's stopping our brothers and sisters from, not being on drugs? What's stopping them? They're not disciplined enough. Every drug addict wants to get off of drugs. The problem is they're not disciplined enough to get off of drugs. Well, if you stop eating and drinking for 24 hours during the Day of Atonement, you can get off of whatever drug you want to get off of. You can stop doing all the drugs, stop being an alcoholic, stop wasting money. You could do all of those things and accomplish all of those things with discipline. And that's what the Day of Atonement taught us, man. It taught us discipline. So first I'm going to read that scripture, the scripture for the Day of Atonement. All right. Give me 1 second. All right, Leviticus chapter 23. All right, right here. Here we are, Salakia. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 26. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, verse 27, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Most High. Like, man, this right here is heavy. All right, so this is what we just accomplished. Now we're going to go to Matthew 4, verse 1. That's what we just accomplished. Right? We just accomplished the Day of Atonement. We just took down the Day of Atonement, and give yourselves another hand for, you understand, being steadfast and having discipline. Give yourselves another hand, man. Shalom, babe. Shalom. Like, you just accomplished something that in your entire life, you thought that you were just what your mother told you you were. You thought what society and our oppressor have told you were, which is shiftless and lazy, and you will never amount to anything. Well, listen, if you kept the fast of the Day of Atonement this past 24 hours, you just proved to everybody they're wrong. You just showed the entire earth. You just showed yourself that if you stick to something, if you stop being such a coward and you stick to something and you devote yourself to something, my God, you could accomplish everything you want in this world. Everything you want. You want to go and be a business owner, right? Every black and Hispanic, oh my God, since the pandemic in 2020, every nigga is a business owner.
Right.
They all want to be entrepreneurs. But what if you really had the discipline to go and do it? What if you really had the discipline to go out and go days and weeks without eating, like business owners that are successful have done? Days and weeks without money. When you first start that business, you won't be making any money. You won't make anything. You're gonna have to live off of a couple of cents and dollars and ask for loans and ask people, well, can you spot me this much? I'll give it right back to you. I'm starting this business. I promise that when I get this money going for my business, I'll pay it back to you. Can you do IOUs? Could you be embarrassed enough to do an IOU? Well, you couldn't. Why? Because you didn't keep the Day of Atonement. If you can't go without eating and drinking for 24 hours, how do you think you'll run a successful business? How do you sisters and brothers that are mostly sisters, I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, brothers, all of you sisters in college, there's no niggas in college, they in there to get hoes. Black women are more educated than white men. Did you know that? There are more black women that are going to get higher education, that have matriculated into college and universities, than white and Asian men are. Black women are college crazy. Black women are and Hispanic women are college crazy, mainly because they're giving a lot of a lot of scholarships to minority women. Like, it's a double minority, meaning if you're a black man, you can get into college with good grades, with decent grades, and find some scholarship for black boys or for black people. And there's scholarships out there like that. It don't have to be the United Negro College Fund. There are scholarships that white corporations, because it makes their company look good, they give scholarships to minorities. So black, Hispanic, Asian, East Indians, they give them all the scholarships they want. Well, listen, man, if you're a black woman, you're a double minority. You're a woman, which makes you a minority, and you're a black woman, which makes you what they call a double minority. There's no way you couldn't go to college if you're a black woman who wanted to. And so now black and Hispanic women have dominated the college industry. They are in the goddamn college and universities like crazy, which is a good thing. This is not a knock on that. That's a beautiful thing. The problem is, go talk to these sisters that are in these colleges. They have 1.5 GPAs. And let me help you out if you don't know. If you're somebody tuning in from somewhere who don't know what the hell I'm talking about a GPA. A GPA is your grade point average. It's the average they take over the course of all of your classes. What, you got 5 to 7 classes in college? Well, if you got C's and D's and F's in most of those classes, you got a 2.0. A 2.0 is like, I think, ain't it D's, Elisha? All of us graduated with 2.0. It's a D. It's like a D average.
I couldn't even
F's is 1.5.
If
you got F's in 2 or 3 of those classes, and you got a C, which ain't good in college, and a D, you're horrible. You shouldn't even be in there. The problem isn't that you shouldn't be in college if you're suffering from a low grade point average. The problem is you're not disciplined enough to stop going to those parties and stop smoking weed. People go to college, blacks and Hispanics go to college, and you go party crazy. You go drunk crazy. You go to school. I know my sister did. I got 2 sisters that went to college. And dear God, don't ask me about their college experience, because they went there and lost their goddamn mind because they weren't disciplined enough, like every black and Hispanic woman that goes to college. Like most Jakes that go to college, they're not even disciplined to be in there. They don't know what they're doing. They just know that I have to do something or my mom will kick me out. I got to do something that looks good on me. So they just go to college because that's the norm now. By now it's normal to go to college. And so everybody that's black and Hispanic just wants degrees, don't even know what the hell they're getting a degree for. Well, what if you really sat down and was disciplined enough to, instead of worry about fun, instead of worry about parties and alcohol and getting high, like all college is to you is about getting high, parties. You don't care about those grades. You're going to procrastinate on your homework. But what if you truly devoted yourself to that education? You can be the next Ben Carson. I know he's a sellout, but look at what he did when he was in his medical profession. Brother, he did so many surgeries. I think he's like the best heart surgeon on the face of the earth. You understand? You could be George Washington Carver. You understand? You could be things in life that you would have never thought. But you will never achieve those things if you don't apply yourself and be disciplined. Right. And that's true throughout life. It's not just college. If you're a parent, you're going to be a horrible parent if you don't put your kids above you. If you are somebody who didn't go the whole 24 hours through the Day of Atonement because of some affliction, some weak made up of story you had, something that you made up so you don't have to complete the Day of Atonement, your head started hurting, so what did you do? You just had to drink a little water. Your stomach started to growl, so what did you do? Ate a little bit. God saw that. The Most High God saw what you did. And this is what you better understand. You will never be a good parent if you cannot go those 24 hours without eating and drinking. If you couldn't complete the Day of Atonement, you have to ask yourself, how could I teach my sons and my daughters to do something that I can't do? And you know what's so heavy about that, Elisha? That's the problem in the black community with our leadership. Our so-called black and Hispanic leaders they ask us to do something they can't do. In fact, give me that in the Bible. That's in the Bible. Give me what Christ, our King Yahushua, told the disciples, that ye omit the weightier matters of the law. He said that you ask, you will put a burden on men that you wouldn't carry. Give me that scripture real fast. And then we're going to go to Matthew 4. Find that precept. He said, ye omit the weightier matters of the law. Like, here's the problem in the black and Hispanic community. Because you expect something better out of somebody that you don't expect out of yourself, we are never going to get anywhere. How in the world could you ask your children to accomplish something that you're not willing to give up? Imagine a mother, Elisha, and everybody think about this for us. Visualize this. Imagine your mother has a son, or imagine you have a son that is a crackhead, right? And he's stealing from you. He's stealing from the family, right? Which is what crackheads do. They steal from everybody because they got to get that hit. And he's stealing from everybody. He's stealing from your purse. If you're a brother, he's stealing out your wallet. He's taking your money. He's scamming you to get money to go get crack, to go get high. And you just like, man, I wish this nigga just get off of dope. And you talk to him and you say, as a good parent, you say, listen, man, I'm only going to help you so much. You got to get off these drugs. You got to stop doing drugs. No parent wants their child on drugs. So you're going to do all you can to get that child off of drugs. Well, listen, man, how could you want to get your child off of drugs, or how do you expect him to be disciplined enough to get off of marijuana if you couldn't even go the Day of Atonement without eating and drinking? How could you expect your child to do well in school when what do you do at your slave? When you're at your job, what are you, the worst employee they have? You cause them the most trouble? Well, listen, your child is going to cause their teacher the most trouble too. How could you expect anything out of your kids that you wouldn't expect out of yourself? And that's the problem within the black and Hispanic community, and that's very true for our black piss poor leaders. They expect us to do something that they wouldn't do themselves. They expect you to go move mountains and to go fight crime and to go march and vote when they wouldn't do it themselves. There's no way that Al Sharpton would give up anything to save your life. But he expects you to sacrifice to save his. It's because he's selfish. And that type of selfishness is what we was going over last night. And that's the problem in the black and Hispanic community, and the problem with the Christian church. In that Black and Hispanic Christian church, we have been taught to be so selfish. Nobody is selfless. Nobody wants to sacrifice for the next man, and that's the problem. Well, guess what, man? If you kept that Day of Atonement, you just accomplished something that nobody in the world could do.
Right.
And that's sacrifice something. Give up something to help your people. Al Sharpton would never do something like that. Martin Luther King Jr. have never did anything like that, where they sacrifice something to give up something to risk to help their people, risk their lives to help their people. Do something that's not going to benefit them, but going to benefit their people or benefit somebody else. You've done that this last 24 hours, man. That's what you accomplished if you went through with it, truly. If you went through with it. Read what you got.
Kind of the one kind. Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees.
This is Yahweh, our King Christ, speaking to the who?
Scribes and Pharisees.
To the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the scribes, right? To the religious leaders of Christ's era. The religious leaders of Christ's time. The Black and Hispanic and Native Indian, Christian, piss poor, weak leaders of Christ's time. That is who he's speaking to. The Al Sharptons of his time is who he's talking to. The Jesse Jackson of his time is who he's speaking to. The Dr. Kings, the Farrakhans, the Malachi Yorks, that is who he's speaking to right now. He's speaking to young Pharaoh. He's speaking to the conscious community. That's who he's speaking to. He's speaking to all of the blackity black niggas that have power over the Black and Hispanic community because of their wealth and influence and their resources. He's speaking to those people 2,000 years ago. And this is what he tells those people. Read.
Kind of the kind. For ye pay tithes of mint and anise and what's that? Cumin.
Word scripture. Read that. Where you at again, Salaki?
Matthew 23 and 23.
Go ahead. Keep going.
And have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone.
Now read that part again. You omit. Go ahead.
Kind of the kind. And have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone.
You hear that? You hear what Christ said? He said, you omit the weightier. You leave out the parts of the law that you don't want to follow. And that's the problem with the Pharisees and Sadducees. It may not, is it around here where he told them that you bind heavy burdens? That's what I want. I want where he said that you bind heavy burdens on men that you would not carry. That's what I want. Give me that, Baba Kushah. But this is the truth. Christ told these scribes and Pharisees, the religious leaders, that ye omit the weightier matters of the law. And he said, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Meaning they were picking and choosing. They were doing just what Christians do today. They picked and they chose which laws to follow.
Right.
They picked and chose what they will not do and what they will do. And that is the bedrock tenet of the Christian church. That is one of the major tenets in the church, is to pick and choose from which laws they're going to follow. The Christian church tells you that it's wrong to murder, that it's wrong to steal, that it's wrong to lie. Those are 3 laws out of all 600 plus laws in the Bible. What about being a homosexual? What about eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster? What about all of the other ones? What about keeping the Day of Atonement? What about not voting? It's a law to not vote.
Right.
It's a law to not be a homosexual. It's a law to not be in love with your oppressor. It's a law against not having sex with other nations. It's a law to not do those things, but the church allows you to do those. Why? Because they omit the weightier matters of the law. They think it's such a small thing to be gay. They think it's okay to be LGBTQIA. They think it's okay to eat pork and shrimp and crab and lobster. But nowhere in the Bible does it give anybody the permission to do it. But the church, just like the Pharisees and Sadducees, the black Christians, just like the scribes, they omit the weightier matters of the law. They don't obey the God of the Bible. They just pick and choose a few of the things he said, man. They just pick a couple of things. Yeah, we'll not murder, Elisha. We won't murder and we won't steal and we won't lie. We'll tell our children not to do those things, but we will teach them about Christmas. We will teach them to celebrate Thanksgiving, which is honoring the goddamn worst murderer on this side of the hemisphere, Christopher Columbus.
Right.
What are you celebrating Thanksgiving, but you teach your son not to murder? He's going to be a murderer. What are you don't believe that you should lie and steal, but you salute the flag? You're going to lie and steal, because the founding fathers of that flag that you salute were the biggest liars and the biggest thieves and the biggest murderers. Now you see why black boys and Hispanic men and Native Indian boys grow up in America, grow up in Mexico, grow up in Puerto Rico under the authority of America, and they become gangbangers. And they become MS-13. And they become Crips and the Bloods. They become the Norteños and the Sereños. They become the GDs and the Vice Lords and the Black Disciples. You know why? Because George Washington was the same. He was a gang member. He was affiliated with the biggest gang on the face of the earth, America. And he did more murdering than any Stanley Tookie Williams or Blood or GD or Vice Lord. When you teach your sons to salute the flag, Salakia, they're going to be a murderer just like the flag,
right,
and just like the forefathers of the flag,
right,
just like the forefathers of America. They will murder. When you teach those Mexicans about the Mexican Independence Day and the Mexican flag, they're going to be the Spanish conquistadors and murder everybody in Durango, murder everybody in Sinaloa, murder everybody in Zacatecas, murder everybody in Juarez. They're going to be what the Spanish conquistadors were. Why? Because you teach them to pick and choose what to follow. You teach our children. The Christian church have done a horrible job of raising our children, have done a horrible job of making profitable men and women, have done a horrible job of making men that serve God and women that serve God. They failed at that job. They failed at creating a better life for God's people. They failed at teaching blacks and Hispanics how to not omit the weightier matters of the law. They failed at helping blacks and Hispanics not be like our oppressor, not hate like our oppressor, not murder like our oppressor, not steal like our oppressor, not lie like our oppressor. You know how they stopped? You know how they failed? By teaching them to integrate with society.
Right.
By teaching them to forget about slavery. It's in the past. We must vote now. It's 2022. That's in the past. White people never owned slaves that live here today. White people never oppressed you. You're not oppressed. You was never experienced racism. It's 2022. The Christian church have failed our people, man.
That's right.
The Muslim mosque have failed our people, integrating them to the worst religion ever, the Nation of Islam, integrating them into Christianity like Dr. King. You failed black people, man. You failed the people that the Bible says God chose. You failed them the same way the Pharisees and Sadducees failed them 2,000 years ago.
That's right.
The way the scribes failed them 2,000 years ago when Christ walked the earth. And how did they fail them? Because they omitted the weightier matters of the law. Because they were hypocrites and sellouts and traitors, just like Dr. King, just like Malcolm X, just like Jesse Jackson, just like Al Sharpton, just like Ben Carson and your preacher and your reverend and your imam. They failed black people, man. It was never the intentions of the Most High God for you to go and do what you want to do. It was never the intentions of the Most High God for you to live an alternative lifestyle. It was never God's intention for you to not do what he told you to do 6,000 years ago since the book of Genesis. The Christian church failed us, man. They failed us in teaching us the laws of God. They failed us in teaching us how to be disciplined. They failed us on teaching us on how to not love our oppressor and join our oppressor and choose his ways and envy our oppressor like Michael Jackson. The moment you get $1 million, what are you going to do? Chop off your nigga nose. Chop off the nigga lips. Go and bleach your skin white to be like your oppressor. God said don't do that. The moment you get money, you're going to leave the ghetto and go live with your oppressor like O.J. Simpson. And then when the oppressor turns on you, like they turned on Michael Jackson, like they turned on O.J. Simpson, you're going to be crawling back with open arms to the black community. You're a traitor to black people the way the Pharisees and Sadducees was. The way the Christian church is now, you betrayed black people by not teaching them the weightier matters of the law. By not teaching them that all the laws, statutes, and commandments still stand today throughout your generations. That's in the Bible, man. And the Pharisees and Sadducees were the same people that your black Christian religious leaders are today. The same exact ones. The same people who sought to have Christ killed, that betrayed Christ, that were traitors to their people, and that hated the Most High God. They're the same exact people. And Christ was speaking against them because he truly loves blacks and Hispanics. He truly loves Native Indians like Commanding General Yana. He truly obeys the Most High God like Commanding General Yana, like the men and the women in the Isupk under Commanding General Yana. We love our people, and we love them so much that we will refuse to not teach them the laws of the Most High God. We refuse to never teach black people how to love the oppressor, how to join America, how to join the United Kingdom. We refuse to teach them those things. This is what we will teach them. We will teach them how to love God and how to obey the Most High God, and not just talk about it, but truly be about it. And that's the Isupk. And that's right now. That's the Day of Atonement. That's it right there. To have enough discipline, no matter what you will lose from it, you're still going to do it because it's the right thing to do. That's integrity. That's discipline. And that's what the men that truly serve God will have. You know a man that doesn't serve God because he doesn't have that discipline and that integrity. They're decadent in the Christian church. They can do whatever they want to do in the Christian church. They can eat whatever they want to eat, whenever they want to eat. They can drink whatever they want. They can have sex with whoever they want. They can have sex with anything they want. Man or woman, dog or cat, horse or gorilla, they don't give a damn. All they care about is their lust, not true men of God. True men of God will be so disciplined that they will sacrifice everything just to serve God. Keep going what you got out.
Matthew chapter 23 verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on.
Hold on, so like read that again. The chapter and verse you at.
Matthew chapter 23 verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens.
Go up to verse 1, 23 and 1.
Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, verse 2, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
You hear that? This is how I know that the Pharisees and Sadducees and the scribes, who were hypocrites, why they are the same as today. Who sits in Moses' seat today? The Christian church. Everybody is black and Hispanic or is under the influence and power and authority of the black Christian church, of the Baptist church, of the Pentecostal church, of non-denominational church, of the Protestants and the Catholic church. That is your God in 2022. And that was your God 2,000 years ago. Black leaders and Hispanic leaders who never gave a damn about black people the way Moses did, who never gave a damn about black people the way King Joshua did, who never gave a damn about black people the way King David did, who never cared about blacks and Hispanics the way Christ did, the way Christ does. You understand? Keep going.
Verse 3. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
Read that part again.
For they say.
God.
For they say and do not.
This is Christ being a man of God and warning God's people of further destruction. This is the job of a priest and prophet of the Most High God. This is the duty and the responsibility and the burden that you are supposed to have when you take an oath to do the work of God. When you take an oath to be a priest and prophet, when you do the will of God, you're going to have the burden that Christ had. You're going to have this job that Christ had. You're going to be disciplined like Christ enough to teach the people the truth. Salakia. To teach the people the truth. That's something that is not allowed today, to teach the truth. When Christians get up in that pulpit and they get up in church on Sunday and Wednesday and Saturday and they don't teach the truth. Christians teach lies. That's what Christians teach. The pastors teach lies. The civil rights leaders taught lies. The black Muslims teach lies. The conscious community teaches lies. They don't teach the truth, man.
Right.
They don't have the burden that we have under Commanding General Yana. They don't have the burden and the responsibility. They didn't make the sacrifices that you just made 24 hours ago. Show me a Christian who's willing to go 24 hours without eating and drinking. Show me they would die if they can't go an hour without getting the pleasure they want. They would die. They would whine and complain. How do I know? Because those was the same blacks and Hispanics and Native Indians that was whining and complaining when we were coming out of Egypt into our land, Elisha. Remember when we came out of the land of Egypt, there was some Negroes that was crying and whining and let's go back to Egypt.
Right.
Let's go back to Egypt. Those Christians are those same people.
That's right.
Those Christians are the same ones that would cry if we had to leave America tonight. They wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know what to do if they had to go 24 hours without eating and drinking. Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? You think T.D. Jakes, he looked like he eat everything. Creflo Dollar looks like he never turns vagina down. He gets everything he wants and bask in pleasure and lust because that is what Christians do.
Right.
Because they don't obey any laws. There's no laws to say he shouldn't do it. And you just have to shut your mouth and accept it. Well, Christ is warning you against people like them. Christ is warning blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians against people like T.D. Jakes, against people like Creflo Dollar, against people like your mother's pastor, against people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., against people like the conscious community. The Most High God, through Christ, is warning his people to not listen to them, to turn your head away from them when they try to start teaching and try to battle us in the goddamn street. Everybody want to battle us, but we're the only people doing the work of God. We're the only people that care about God's people. We're the only people that love our people enough to go 24 hours and not eat and drink, enough to be disciplined, enough to go and waste our Saturdays on brothers and sisters who the world would say are lost causes. We are that people in the Isupk. We are the men and women that would risk our life and limbs in Acuna, Mexico, and in Kentucky, or during the Kentucky 8 riots, and during the 2020 riots after George Floyd was murdered, risk our life just to bring this truth to you. Just to bring you foods and supplies and clean drinking water. We're those brothers in here, man. And don't you ever forget it. But meanwhile, Elisha, there's cats that will argue us and try to battle us about what we teach and what we believe. When this is what we believe right here. This is what we teach right here. The same thing Christ is teaching his people is the same thing we're teaching Christ's people. The same thing we're teaching our people. To not listen to the Pharisees and the scribes. To not listen to your religious Christian church. Your Christian pastors, your religious leaders, your politicians, don't listen to them. Why? Why not, Elisha?
Because they don't. Oh
no.
Oh, Salaki. But all was it?
For they say and do not. Verse 3, 23.
Verse 3. Kind of the kind. For they say and do not.
They do what?
And do not.
No, for they say.
Oh, for they say.
They do what?
For they say.
Oh, they talk a lot in that church.
For they say.
They do a lot of talking.
For they say.
God loves everybody.
For they say.
We got to come together.
For they say.
Don't forget to vote.
For they say.
We got to be righteous.
For they say.
We got to love.
For they say.
We got to be unified.
For they say.
They do a lot of talking. They tell you that you shouldn't go and sell those drugs. They do what?
And do
Before
not.
They say.
For they say.
You shouldn't sell those drugs, brother.
For they say.
Don't you know you bringing down the community?
For they say.
Sis, you don't have to go out there and strip on a stripping pole.
For they say.
Y'all, everybody should come into church on Sunday.
For they say.
Make sure you pay those tithes.
For they say.
Make sure you give God a little bit in that collection bucket.
For they say.
If you bless God, God is going to bless you.
For they say.
You're going to wake up and with a check in the mail.
For they say.
You're going to wake up if you put $100 tithe. Shall a man rob God?
For they say.
You should put money in that collection plate.
For they say.
You shouldn't judge nobody.
For they say.
God loves everybody.
For they say.
Keep going.
And do not.
They do what?
And do not.
They don't do anything they say.
Right.
What pastor ever gave any collection in his own collection plate? I've never seen it my entire life. Why in the hell are you asking people, poor people, for money when you have all the money that you stole from the poor people? I've never seen them give money in their own collection plate because they do what?
For they say and do not.
They don't do what they say. They don't do what they say. It's like a politician. Politicians, what did Joe Biden say? He said a lot of nothing. He said he was going to forgive student debt loan universally. meaning all across America, no matter what college you went to, all of your student debt would be paid. Turns out, Elisha, that wasn't true. Turns out that wasn't true. America made treaties with the Ukraine that said if Russia or any other country was to step foot on Russian soil back in the 1980s or 90s, after Gorbachev tore down that wall, because Ronald Reagan and America's power and might made him tear that wall down, they made a treaty with Ukraine. And they promised them independence and said what? They said, listen, we're going to help you be independent from Russia. And if anybody tries to harm you and they step foot on your soil and a threat for war, we will be right there to back you up. Brother, Vladimir Putin just annexed like half of Ukraine now. Half of Ukraine. And all America could do was send money. Did they send troops, Elisha? Did they send American troops to the Ukraine like they promised in that treaty? Did they send war fighter jets with American pilots over there to Ukraine? Nah, they didn't even give them a no-fly zone. You know what they did, Doc? They said, here's $15 billion. Here's $5 billion. Here's $2 billion. Go figure it out yourself and leave us the hell out of it. Right. You know why? Because they say and they do not. That is your politician, Doc. That is your reverend, and that's your pastor. The leader you look up to, he's going to talk all day, Doc. And that is a politician's job, is to talk. It is a reverend and a deacon's job to talk, to get you to feel good, to get your dumb ass to go and donate all of your money to them. That's their job. What you don't realize is you're stupid, and you don't know when you've been you don't know when you've been swindled. You don't know when you've been taken advantage of. You just know a good word. The pastor show was preaching today. Wasn't he talking, girl? I believe it. I claim it. Turn to your neighbor and say, tomorrow is a new day. Nigga, I could go up in church and say that. I can go up there and talk. I love to talk, I can get up there in that service and just talk for 5 hours like your pastor. But I didn't change any reality for you. I didn't change anything because they don't do anything. And that is the Christian church. They say and they do not. What is that? What is that called? What's another word for that?
Hypocrite.
A what?
Hypocrite.
A what?
A hypocrite.
Give the brother a hand. Christ just called your religious leaders hypocrites, sellouts, traitors. You a hypocrite. You don't do anything, but you do talk. You do talk like that Herschel Walker. God, my God, Herschel Walker said he didn't pay for some whore's abortion that of the mistress he cheated on his wife with. He had an infidelity in his marriage, like every man that you ever gonna be with, sis. And he tried to cover it up by paying for an abortion. Well, he came out and said, I never even did that. And I never, because he's a Republican, and you know Republicans don't agree with abortion.
Right.
And I don't know if the nigga's running for office or what he's doing now. But while I thought about this, who in the hell cares what you did? Like, you're not, like, do you know who Herschel Walker is? Does anybody know who Herschel Walker is? Brother, Herschel Walker won the Heisman Trophy in what? Look this up. Herschel Walker won the Heisman Trophy in what, 1980? 1978? Well, look up when Herschel Walker won the Heisman Trophy. He played for the University of Georgia. He won the Heisman Trophy and win. 1980,
It's a lot, yeah. Born in 1962.
Look up Heisman Trophy, Herschel Walker. When did Herschel Walker win the Heisman Trophy?
In 1982.
And brother, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, that nigga is 60 years old, You understand? He's 60 years old. He won the Heisman Trophy 40 years ago. Who in the hell cares what he's doing? But he may be running for office. He's a black face for white people, and that's what he is. He's another Ben Carson or another Tim Scott. That is who Herschel Walker is, because he has such conservative views. But he paid some woman to go get an abortion. Right. So of course he came out recently and said, I did not do this, because the woman, of course, came out trying to get money and fame and whatever, and she said he did do this. She called him on his bluff. He said, I did not do it. Guess what she did? She pulled receipts out, literal receipts of the money he gave her for the abortion.
Good night.
I sat there. I said, damn. After he said, and they are adamant about what they say. Politicians and Uncle Toms and sellouts and hypocrites are so adamant about how they speak. I never did anything like this. Like Bill Clinton, y'all old enough to remember that. Bill Clinton sat up there and got
straight up
fellatio in the White House from some white woman who just offered him, Monica Lewinsky, who just offered it to him, and he just took it. And he was married at the time to Hillary Clinton, and he got up in front of the entire nation and the entire world.
I couldn't even blame him.
Yeah, and listen, you almost make me feel bad for the devil. Damn. He out there conquering land and conquering the earth, and he just want a little tail on the side from this stiff bones that he got with Hillary Clinton, some manly-looking woman. I hardly don't blame him either. Nonetheless, he did something that Christians say is wrong. You should never cheat on your wife. And he got up in front of the entire earth and said, what, Elisha? I did not have sexual relations with that woman. It turns out he did. It turns out that she made an entire book about everything that went on. She made a detailed book about when she put it in her mouth. And he got up in front of everybody and said, I didn't do it. And was impeached because he lied. Go ahead, Doc.
So like you, sir, they found, what was it, a blouse of hers?
Oh,
a shirt?
My God.
With his stain on it. They found the damn blouse or the skirt, the dress, whatever, in the closet or some damn where in the White House with Bill Clinton's, I'm trying to think of the semen.
Yeah, sperm.
Sperm.
Yeah.
On the blouse.
Yeah. It's just like, I'll give you another one, like Creflo Dollar. Not Creflo Dollar, I'm sorry. Bishop Eddie Long. He said, I didn't rape those kids. He never even said I didn't do it. This is what he said. I got 5 rocks and I ain't thrown one yet. When they accused Bishop Eddie Long of molesting and raping boys in his church, he said, I got 5 rocks and I ain't thrown one yet.
Cold nigga. So
he never said I never did it. But in that speech, he tried to convince his church, which he did, that he didn't do it. And then they all believed him because they're all stupid, just like the blacks and Hispanics that Christ are teaching in the Bible. Christ is teaching his people, and Christ knows how gullible you are. It's why you go out and buy. Right now, you're buying presents and putting presents on layaway for those spoiled brats you have at home. They don't do anything in school. They don't make any good grades. They are horrible children. They running and breaking. I got my side mirror on my car. And you buying them, gearing them right now to put toys on layaway for a bunch of spoiled brats because you're gullible. Because you're gullible. You're silly. You're naive. And Christ knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody in positions of power, including the other nations, know how gullible and naive blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are, especially our women. And so everything is geared towards you. It's catered towards you. All the advertisements of McDonald's and fast food and jewelry stores are all catered towards women and black people and Hispanic people. Why? Because they know how gullible you are. That's why some politician is going to come to your church in about 2 more weeks, if they haven't already, and they're going to get endorsed by your pastor. And that is enough to get you to vote for some white man. That white politician or that black politician that comes to your grandmother's church this Sunday, when they come there to speak, they won't tell you anything about how they're going to help the black community. They're going to go up there and talk about how they love God. And because a man says he loves God, that's enough for you to vote for him, Elisha. That's enough for you. When Donald Trump told white people, racist white men in America, I'm going to deport the Mexicans, that was enough. I was in Esau's military, and I remember thinking these cats here, they were going Donald Trump crazy and the oppressors military. He said, we're going to deport the Mexicans. We're going to deport them. We're going to build a wall. And that was enough for them. He didn't have to tell them what the policy was, anything. He said something you wanted to hear. And that's politicians. That's religious leaders. They tell you what you want to hear, and because you're so stupid and gullible, you're going to do what they tell you to do because you just love good words and a sweet word. Which is why the Bible says, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. What your church does is vain deceit. It's lies. It's not true. When Christians tell you that God loves everybody, that's not true. It's not in the Bible. Christians tell you that it's okay to love who you want to love. When God makes requirements on who you are supposed to love, it's in the Bible. God never said that he'd done away with the laws. Christ never said he came back to do away with the law, but Christians teach it. They don't have to show it in the Bible. They don't have to pull archaeological records or proof. They just say it out of their mouths, and you believe them for the past 70 years because you are gullible, and everybody knows it, including your pastors, the male pastors and the female pastors. They know that you're stupid and gullible because you're the lost sheep of the 12 tribes of Israel. And you're going to listen to whoever has a good word. Any politician that has a good word, any man that has a good word, any woman that has a good word and a big behind, you're going to listen to them, man. You're going to listen to him with a sweet voice and a sweet tone. You're going to listen to him because you're gullible. And Christ knows it. So what is Christ doing, Elisha? He's warning you the way a good shepherd would warn his sheep.
That's right.
And protect his flock. He's trying to warn you to not be so stupid, to not just believe everything somebody says. I don't know if people know this or not, Elisha. Maybe it's to help black people out. But people lie. I don't know. I know you're so nice and sweet and you just love and accept everybody. And so, you just believe, he can't just lie like that. But people do lie, you understand? People lie. I don't know if people even know this in church, but your pastor could be telling you something that could not be true. You may not understand liars, but when Eddie Long got up there and said he didn't molest her, when he said, I got 5 rocks and I ain't thrown one yet, and everybody got up there and said, praise Jesus, hallelujah, not my pastor. Your pastor could have been wrong and molested children and raped and took advantage of young boys and girls in that church. You realize that when Bill Clinton said, I didn't have sexual relations with that woman, he could have actually had sexual relations with that woman and many more. Like, it never even crosses your mind because you're just an idiot. You're stupid and you don't know. That's why you need somebody to lead you, because you wouldn't know any better. You would get swindled out of your draws, out of both draw legs, if you didn't have somebody to tell you, don't believe him. He's an idiot. He's just telling you that just to get your money, just to get your vagina. How many sisters then threw their whole life away by having 6 baby daddies, and every last one of them having 6 babies by different men, and every last one of them they got on child support. Not married to any of them. All because some man told you he was going to buy you a cheeseburger. He told you he was going to buy you heels with red on the bottom of them. And that was enough for you to go and give that man your whole entire body.
They ain't buying them that. So
they buy them just cheeseburgers. He going to buy you a McDonald's hamburger and Happy Meal for them kids. And he is going to get some because you're gullible. And he knows it. Instead of you, because his shoes, his Jordans was real, you're going to have sex with him. Because he has $100 in the bank account and he can give you 40 of them, you're going to have sex with him. You understand? Because that woman has a big behind and breast, you're going to have sex with her. You don't care what disease she has, if she's a good mother, if she's a good woman, if she's a good person, could she raise children, how was she raised? You don't give a damn about any of that because you're a lustful bastard. Well, that's the truth about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We're gullible, lustful people. And we don't consider to have any discipline any times in our lives because we are Christian. Because we're Christian. Go ahead. Before I continue, go ahead. You have something
to say? I also wanted to add on, too. Creflo Dollar admitting to being wrong. He said he was teaching the gospel the wrong way.
Wrong for 40 years.
40 years?
40 years.
And, I seriously doubt anyone has left this congregation or stopped believing in Christianity or the Christian church.
Forget about it.
And, to the year to date, it's $800 billion. Was it $800 billion in tithes that's been taken? And people are still poor?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, brother. I mean, that's the absolute truth. Like, they'll admit they're wrong, like Dr. King, and they will still they will have statues after them, the way Martin Luther King Jr. does. And they will have streets named after him, like Malcolm X and Dr. King. Like, you are going to believe and worship some gullible person, which is why Christ had to tell you, they say and they do not. They're telling you one thing, but they're not going to do it. Stop listening to religious leaders and politicians. Haven't you learned? What have you been doing? Since your great-grandmother, you've been listening to politicians and religious leaders? And where are you now? With 6 baby daddies. Haven't you learned to stop taking everybody for their word? Haven't you learned to stop believing everything somebody says out of their mouth? Why don't you look at the actions of a person instead of what they are saying? That's what Christ is teaching blacks and Hispanics right here. They say, but they do not. Keep reading.
Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens.
What do the religious leaders in the black community do?
For they bind heavy burdens.
What do your politicians do?
Bind heavy burdens.
What does your black leaders do?
Bind heavy burdens.
What does your mother's pastor do?
Bind heavy burdens.
What did Dr. King do?
Bind heavy burdens.
Keep going.
And grievous to be borne.
Born means carry. They bind heavy burdens that are hard to carry out. What is a heavy burden? Voting. That's a heavy burden out. The crack epidemic in the 80s and 90s. Oh my God, that was a heavy burden. Those are heavy burdens. Planned Parenthood and abortion. That's it. Next week we're gonna break down. It was a disgusting. I won't even tell you what the ad, who sponsored the ad, because we're gonna break it down, and I don't want to spoil it for you. But next week, we're gonna break this video down. I saw that was so disgusting on TV. It was on YouTube. It was just a regular advertisement, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and it's in a cartoon, because of course the cartoon is trying to appeal to your children,
right?
And it has a little boy's voice because it's trying to appeal to your kids. And I sat there and I watched this. And I said, I'm glad my boy's not down here to see this advertisement. I'm looking at this thing, and it was a 2.5 minute video, 2.5 minute advertisement. And I watched it out, and he's talking about encouraging children to be LGBTQ, about being who they want to be and expressing themselves, and puberty blockers. They say, the little sodomite said, I know that what you're going through right now could be a tough time. It could be a tough time because you have all these feelings and emotions. And they had a graphic of a child going through school, and he's getting bullied, or he don't fit in, like Jeffrey Dahmer didn't fit in.
Right.
And so he's just, and he's getting pimples and acting like you do at puberty. He said, I know puberty is coming up. Puberty is going to hit you, right? It happens. It's normal. It's natural for puberty to happen. But if you feel like you want to be something that, if you feel like you want to do something and be something you want to be, then you should get puberty blockers. And this is advertisement for puberty blockers and all this stuff for boys to be girls and girls to be boys. And I said, and then at the end of the ad, I said, this is the company that is doing. I said, my God, and here you are, you walk freely into a clinic, and you're going to get, sis, and you're going to get an abortion. You're going to get an abortion. That's a burden, It's a burden. I'll give you one right now. The Jackson, Mississippi water crisis. The Flint, Michigan water crisis. Those are heavy burdens that are grievous to be borne, that are hard to carry. Like your religious leaders and your black politicians. I have yet to hear a black or Hispanic politician come out and talk about the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis. Have you, Elijah? Can somebody online tell me, have they heard any of these nuts from the conscious community, from the Muslim mosque, from the black Christian church, or the religious leaders down there in Jackson? Have they said anything regarding the water crisis? I need somebody to tell me. No, because if I'm not mistaken, they haven't.
No, I think the BET Awards just happened.
Oh, yeah. Did they say anything about the Jackson, Mississippi water?
No.
They was dancing and twerking and bringing old music back. They just having a good time while black people suffer and die from not having clean drinking water in the richest, most powerful country on the face of the earth. What does your religious leaders do when you don't have clean drinking water? They leave it up to you to fix it. They leave it up to you to fix the abortion crisis. They leave it up to you to fix civil rights. They leave it up to you to fight for the right to have liberty, life, and pursuit of happiness. They leave it up to you to do everything. You're suffering and dying. You're getting evicted out of your apartment, out of your house. And where is the church when after they've stolen $800 billion? Do they give any of that money to help the clean drinking water, the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, or Flint, Michigan, or Chesapeake Bay, or Nebraska? Do they help any black people down there in Florida that just lost their goddamn savings in a house that was flooded because of a natural disaster? Do they help or do any of that thing? Do they do anything that's not going to benefit them? They don't. That's the reason why the Bible says they lay heavy burdens, and they are grievous to be borne. They are grievous to carry. Who in the hell could fix their life without the help of their people? No other nation would do something like that. No other nation would leave their people to starve, leave their people to suffer from an unclean drinking water crisis. No other nation would do that except for your nation, except for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. It's not America's job to save the black people in Jackson, Mississippi. It's your religious leaders' fault for having unclean drinking water in Jackson, Mississippi. It's the church's fault. You mean to tell me that the Christian church in Jackson, Mississippi, all over that city, that they didn't know that black people were struggling and suffering from a water crisis? Those residents in Jackson, the black residents, said that they've been knowing about it for 50 years, Elisha. 50 years, brother. 50 years is enough time to prepare.
Right.
But instead of preparing, what is your church doing? Singing a joyful noise, making a joyful noise, praising God, collecting tithes, and stealing all of your money. stealing all the money that should have went to helping fix the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi. Instead, you make a joyful noise. Well, listen, man, make a joyful noise while your people die. What are you making? You singing and dancing, sing and dance, while your people starve to death, while your people have to wait in lines that are 8 hours long just to get one case of 24 bottles of water. That is what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi. That's what's been going on in Flint for 15 years. For 15 years, Flint hasn't had clean drinking water. For 50 years, there's been a water crisis in Jackson. And what does your black religious leaders do? What do? They leave it up to you to fix your problems.
That's right.
They tell you to vote to fix your problems. They tell you to go have an abortion if you don't want children and if you don't have enough money to take care of them. They never solve our issues because they do what, Elisha? Verse 4.
For they bind heavy burdens.
They do what?
Bind heavy burdens.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Bind heavy burdens.
Flint, Michigan.
Bind heavy burdens.
The abortion epidemic in America.
Bind heavy burdens.
Keep reading.
And grievous to be borne.
Keep reading.
And lay them on men's shoulders. But they...
Hold on, stop right there. They do what?
Lay them on men's shoulders.
They say, here you go. Jackson, Mississippi. Creflo Dollar got a $65 million check. That nut in Brooklyn who got robbed, and then the black woman came up and he choked her. The one that wear all the Gucci suits that the general was talking about, saying like a chimney. Brother, he has millions of dollars. And he has $1 million car collection like he was Floyd Mayweather. Now, he sees what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi.
Right.
He has a TV like you and I. I don't live in Jackson, Mississippi, neither does he, but I know what's going on because I have a TV. He has TVs in the car. I know he has TVs in that mansion up there in upstate New York. Well, listen, he knows that Jackson, Mississippi and the black people are struggling to find clean drinking water. And here he is driving Rolls Royces, getting invited to the BET Hip Hop Awards by Fat Joe, wearing millions of dollars of necklaces and chains and jewelry, having $1 million suits on as he watches black children die because they're thirsty. As he watches black old women and black old men die because they're thirsty. Watching young brothers and sisters trying to do something about the water crisis, he sits up in a mansion. He sits up and watches it happen just like the oppressor would. And what does he do about it? Nothing. They put it on your shoulders for you to bear.
That's right.
Those churches in Jackson, Mississippi, they put it on them for them to bear. They don't say we're going to donate all of the money that we've stolen from the citizens of Jackson, Mississippi for the past 60 years and devote it to making sure we have a clean drinking water, making sure we have a water purification plant, making sure we don't have to die from drinking the water in our house, from dying from bathing with dirty water that comes out of our faucet in our homes. Instead, they leave it to you to fix it. They leave it to you, and what are you going to do? Die, because you don't have the resources. Because you don't have what the Christian church in the black and Hispanic community has. Money, power, wealth, resources. That's what they have. The church has the power to fix Jackson, Mississippi. The church has the power to fix Flint, Michigan. The church has the power to make sure black women don't have to abort their babies. To make sure black men could stay in their black house and not get put out, and not be embarrassed, and not be abused, and not be put on child support. But what does the black Christian church do? Leave it to God. We'll pray about it. We'll ask God to deliver you clean drinking water. We'll ask God to make sure you can have the money and the funds in order to go and buy bottles of water. We'll make sure, we'll give you a small time solution. It won't be a small-term solution. It won't be long-term.
Right.
It's going to be a short-term solution for a long-term problem. Brother, those Christian churches, those black religious leaders, your black politicians, all of these black ball players that you black and Hispanic men worship and love. You worship LeBron James and Michael Jordan as if he was Jesus Christ Almighty. And Michael Jordan has donated nothing to the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis, have given nothing to Flint, Michigan, have given nothing to those brothers and sisters up there in O Block and Cabrini Green. And down where they're from, they've done nothing about it. What you do is you worship them as if they're God, and they have done nothing to better your situation. They are hypocrites and sellouts because they were raised in the Christian church. The church failed at making profitable men and women that love their people. The black church has failed in making brothers and sisters love one another. The church has failed in doing the mission of Christ. They failed at doing the work of God.
That's right.
They failed at loving black people. They failed at loving Hispanic people. They failed at loving North American Indian people. And they don't give a damn because their stomachs are full and their pockets are fat. And that's the only thing that matters to a stinking, filthy sellout of a Christian, like all of your black and religious leaders, like all of your black politicians, like all of your black and Hispanic athletes. They don't give a damn. But there is somebody who does. There is somebody who does. Keep reading.
But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
What did Christ say?
But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
Come on, Ak. All of the money the Christian church have stolen from blacks and Hispanics and Native Indians. All of the women that they molested in the Christian church. All of the kids they molested in the church. And they can't go and help somebody other than themselves. They won't. Because they're the Pharisees and Sadducees. This is who Christ was warning us about. This is who Christ was teaching us not to follow, not to listen to. The blind leading the blind. The hypocrites. They are buying heavy burdens on blacks and Hispanics. They bind heavy burdens on the tribe of Gad and Reuben, the North American Indian, the Seminole Indian. They bind heavy burdens on us, the ones they won't carry and ones that they won't move with their finger. When he says move with their finger, it means that they're a small matter to them. That Jackson, Mississippi water crisis is a big thing when you're poor, but it's a small thing when you have money and resources, which the Christian church has. The Christian church has political connections. The black Christian church in the South alone has political connections, has $800 billion, and has the resources to make sure that your water crisis gets fixed, to make sure Flint has a water purification plant, to make sure that a woman doesn't have to resort to murdering her baby just so she can refuse, just so she won't fall into more decay and into more poverty. The church can fix that problem. The church can fix the poverty in the black household. She doesn't have to go and resort to murdering her baby and aborting her baby just because she doesn't have enough money. The church should have a plan in place that helps new mothers, that helps women who give birth. You shouldn't have to go out and buy diapers and milk. The church can provide it for you. The church can provide a means for you so you can live. The church can provide relief for brothers and sisters who don't have millions of dollars, who don't have billions of dollars like Floyd Mayweather. All of the rich blacks and Hispanics combined with the church, they have enough resources, power, and money to help their community, to help Flint, Michigan. Ain't that where Floyd Mayweather is from? And they still don't have clean drinking water. Jackson, Mississippi, brother, think about all of the rappers that come out of Mississippi. Think about it for a second. Now, what have they done? Think about Florida, all of the athletes, all of the rappers, all of the basketball players and football players, professional athletes with money, all of the black politicians from Florida with money, and they don't help the brothers and sisters down there after Hurricane Ian. You know why? Read.
Go back up. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. Verse 5.
They won't even move it with one of their fingers out. They won't even take the small amount of money it takes. This is something I want you to look up. Captain Mashak, he encouraged me to look this up years ago when I first came in the truth. What is it called? If God will and the creek don't rise. There's a movie about after Hurricane Katrina. It's a documentary that happened after Hurricane Katrina, and it showed how, what was it, Brad Pitt, or I think it wasn't Brad Pitt. It was some white actor. Was it Matt Damon? I think it was Matt Damon who gave like $5 million to help rebuild the black neighborhoods in New Orleans. It didn't take $5 billion. It took $5 million. And he gave it to them as if it was nothing. And not only did he rebuild those houses down there, but this devil, who is the devil, he made sure that the houses were reinforced with stilts and with the proper codes, and were up to code, so if another hurricane happens, it won't ruin the houses.
Right.
$5 million. Now here your Christian church, here Floyd Mayweather has over $1 billion, and LeBron over $1 billion, and Jay-Z over $1 billion, yet and still you have to murder your baby and abort your child because you're too poor. The white man is the devil, the Bible speaks of.
That's right.
And your religious leaders and the black people you look up to with money, they are sellouts and hypocrites who would bind a heavy burden on you and expect you to carry it. Your black Christian church is full of hypocrites who won't move one of those burdens with their little fingers. Keep going now.
Verse 5. But all their works they do for it to be seen of men.
When Lil Wayne gives out $100,000 at some school.
Seen of men.
When Floyd Mayweather gives $50,000 to some charity of his choice.
They do for it to be seen of men.
When Jay-Z gives some autographed CDs.
They do to Salakia. They do for it to be seen
when
of
Michael
men.
Jordan gives an autographed Jordan sneakers at those schools in Charlotte, North Carolina.
They do for it to be seen of men.
Even when they do something good. When they do something good for their people or something they think is good. When they do something they consider giving back to the community and buying up the block. I want to know something. They got a show coming out with Mike Epps and his wife. They call it Buying Up the Block. And they saying that he's going around buying up all of the real estate in the black area. Well, if black people have been kicked out of that area, you're not buying up black real estate, Ak. I really want to see this show to see, okay, is he doing something that's really giving back to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians? Because this is what you're going to find out. That rich black people don't care about you. They care about themselves. And this is something you better learn about Christians. They are never going to do something that won't benefit them. So when they buy back this block out, you best believe it's going to be like a white man buying up your block. When black celebrities go up and buy up these blocks, you still got to pay for those houses out. They're not giving you those houses for free. You do know that, don't you? When niggas buy the block up that have money, they're not giving it to you. They're going to sell it for the same price some oppressor would have sold it. How do I know? Because they don't have $1 billion like Elon Musk. They don't have $1 billion like Jeff Bezos. They have just enough money to buy those houses to make them investment properties. They're going to require you to pay just the same amount of money the oppressor did. So in all actuality, it was better that you just left the block alone. It was better that you just gave all of your money to Commanding General Yana so he can feed and house brothers in Jackson, Mississippi, and in Florida, and in Flint, Michigan.
That's right.
It's better that you just give all of your goddamn tithes and money to the Isupk under Commanding General Yana so we can really make change the way we've been doing with no millions and with no billions. We've been feeding 3,000 Haitians and Mexicans and Acuna, Mexico. That's what we do. And dropping off truckloads of food every week in St. Louis and in Tennessee and in the United Kingdom and all over the earth when we don't have Floyd Mayweather's money.
Right.
Imagine if we did, Ak. You better give all of your money to Commanding General Yana. Go ahead, Ak.
Oh, Salakia, sir, if I may, the oppressor, of course, is the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Yeah, right.
You had that oppressor, Matt Damon, give that $5 million. And here and there, a Negro will go do a Israelite will go do the same thing every now and then. Mm-hmm. But like the scripture's saying, which is so heavy, it's to be seen of men.
That's right.
So the oppressor, they'll go do things, to be, what's it called, a humanitarian.
Mm-hmm. Philanthropy.
Or also they do it, to increase their reputation.
And
he's not that bad. Oh, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, and what you saying is so heavy, and to get a tax break.
I was going
to get a tax break because I guarantee Matt Damon got a $5 million tax break for doing that. Go ahead, Salakia.
Salakia, to get tax breaks to make it seem like, he's not so much of a bad guy. He has a good reputation. But for Negroes, for us, for Israelites, it's the same thing.
That's right.
But like coming out of the streets, like I speak on myself, I think, at all the dirt that we do in the streets,
you wasn't giving out turkeys on Thanksgiving like Nino Brown was your like.
Nah, but I would say that I would give things to people that I felt was needy, the same people that I'm destroying though.
Right.
So in my mind, it was kind of like balancing out the good for evil.
Counterproductive.
Yeah, it was like balancing out the good for evil. Like, well, I gave them $200, but I'm about to go make $10,000 once I bust down this half a brick.
Right.
Salakia.
You wasn't handing out turkeys on Christmas. You know some niggas that was handing out
Oh
turkeys.
yeah, I know cats that was doing
to the same drug addicts that they're selling drugs to.
And to their kids, and to their families that they're destroying, because it gives you a sense of the, that you're doing something good, and that's all Christianity.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? That's all it is.
Damn right. That's the absolute. Give that brother another hand, because that is the absolute truth, and that's what Christ just said. All their works they do is to be seen by men. They just want to be seen by people to show I'm doing this good work. Every time I see a rapper doing something like that, like years ago, I think when I was still in high school, Meek Mill was an up and coming hot rapper, and he had gave some money, and he went to donate his time for Christmas and gave toys for tots, and he had a soup. He was donating his time at a soup kitchen. He volunteered to feed homeless people at a soup kitchen. And I remember young and being a Christian so heavy in that church, I was like, man, this is a good brother. A good man. And now I'm in the truth. I said, these niggas are worthless and are disgusting, including him. Because you do it, why? You don't do it and tell people, don't get this on camera. Don't get this on camera. You do it and say, cut the camera on. Cut the camera on. You do it on purpose to be seen by men and to show proof to the IRS for what? That I did this, now I need a tax break. I helped out a charity. I donated money to a charity, which the Isupk is. So all of you rappers and all of you ball players, if you want to donate money to a 501c3 charity, look no further. You can give 10% of that paycheck, however much you was going to donate to Salvation Army. Give all of those clothes, all of that money, all of that food and that resources that you are going to donate to some other charity that are owned by white people that destroy your people. Why don't you give it to a real charity that helps your people, that helps everybody, like the Isupk, like the Isupk and the Commander Juniana? Give it to us, brother. Give it to us, because we will do a righteous thing with it. We won't be like UNICEF. After the Haitian earthquake 10 years ago, stole over $1.4 billion that was supposed to go to the Haitians in Haiti, like the Red Cross that stole $500 million that was supposed to go to the Haitians in Haiti, the poorest people on the face of the earth, poorer than the Africans, poorer than brothers and sisters in Jackson, Mississippi. They stole that money that was supposed to go to poor people the same way Brett Favre did 3 weeks ago. The same way all your politicians do every day. Why don't you donate? If you want to feel good about doing something for poor people, give your donations and your tithes to the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. That's what you should do. Keep going.
They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments.
You know what that means, don't you? The phylacteries, all of the stuff, them chains that PNB Rock got killed in. All of this stuff. When they handed out turkeys, when Nino Brown handed out turkeys out, even though that's a fictional character, I just heard from a real brother that was in the streets at one time. Real drug dealers actually do what Nino Brown did, which is where they got their idea from the movie. Because in Harlem, they were ravaged by drugs in the 80s.
You may be thinking Frank Lucas.
And Nino Brown.
Oh, yeah, Nino, I can't see it in a long time.
Nino Brown, like, on that, on that movie, and Frank Lucas, they had rings on and jewels on. Handing out turkeys to poor people. They make broad their phylacteries and board their garments. They gonna wear chinchilla coats to hand out, like Frank Lucas. He was a real cat. He handed out turkeys on Thanksgiving and Christmas and a chinchilla coat that was more than what black people in that city made in a year. He's going to broaden the phylacteries to show why. Why is he doing that? To show this is who we should be. This is who we should. If you're poor, you're going to, by default, worship somebody who's rich because they have the power to change your environment, your situation. So when somebody that looks rich comes up to you and gives you something, you're going to not only have respect for them, but you're going to do whatever they tell you to do. Which is why at the end of that movie, he said what? He said, even though you got all this on me, I also was seen handing out turkeys on Thanksgiving. I also gave back to my community. He said, I took care of my people, so my people gonna take care of me. And guess what? He's not wrong in that thinking. Why? Because if you do a favor, if you're somebody who thinks I'm gonna do a favor for a favor, then you're somebody who's a Christian. Because once again, Christians only do something that's going to benefit them. Here you are thinking Frank Lucas was giving out turkeys in a chinchilla coat that was $1 million from the kindness of his heart. Here you are thinking Lil Wayne is giving you $10,000 to some school in New Orleans or Baton Rouge, Louisiana, out of the kindness of his heart. He's not. He's doing it because he's going to get something in return. A lot of those philanthropists, they get something in return. Why don't you do something that's not going to benefit you? How about you just give commanded, how about you just give commanded journey on all your money? Like Christ told that rich man in the Bible. Why don't you just give up everything and come serve us? Come serve Christ.
That's right.
Why don't you just give up all of those phylacteries and those broadened garments and those billions of dollars and all those paychecks? Why don't you just give it all and donate it to the Isupk? Give all your mansions to the Isupk, all of your land to the Isupk, and why don't you just come serve us? Why don't you just do that? And you white people too. White people out there listening, I see that devil give the United Kingdom a hand. Give Captain Parashi a hand and them brothers and sisters over the United Kingdom. They had that devil come out. They didn't have Salakia. I worded that wrong. Some devil was so moved by the Isupk being the only true priest and the only real men of God that this devil in the United Kingdom, I don't know if you've seen the video, the footage, I shared it on my page. Some devil had wrote a letter to the Isupk saying that he will do whatever was needed of him because he sees all of the horrible, terrible atrocities that his people have done to us and to those Benjamites over there in the West Indies and to those Benjamites over there in the United Kingdom. And he wrote a letter to Commander Junihan in the school to apologize and say, and kneel down in front of the men over there in the Isupk United Kingdom and say, whatever you need, listen, you can have. Brother, Ted Turner needs to give up all those ranches he owns out.
That's right.
That Bill Gates needs to give up those farms he owns to Commander Junihan. Because what are they doing with it? They're one man. We got an entire nation to feed. You're selfish. They're selfish. And that's what black Christians learning from. The oppressor. That's what they learning from. They learning from Ted Turner. They learning from Bill Gates. They learning from Jeff Bezos. They learn it from America and the founding fathers of America. That is not going to do anything that's not going to benefit them. They learn it from the white man, our oppressor. So if you learn it from your oppressor, what else have you learned from your oppressor? To be selfish. To be absolutely selfish. To be a hypocrite like your oppressor is a hypocrite. To be a liar like your oppressor is a liar. Well, listen, man. How about you listen to the word of God? How about you do that? How about you don't do works to be seen like Donald Trump would do? That's, you know, when I think about people like that, I always revert back to the oppressor. I say, well, damn, I don't even think about Frank Lucas and Brown until I'm in the class mode and I know I got to teach. But on my own time, when I'm reading the Bible and studying, I read a scripture, I read this verse, and I say, damn, that's what white people do. You understand? Like I say, to be seen by men. I know Christ is speaking to black and Hispanic religious leaders at this time, but I always think this is what an oppressor does. He does things to be seen by men. When he gives all that money to Ukraine, he on purpose reports it to everybody. Why? He doesn't, listen, the president of the United States doesn't have to report to anybody but his cabinets and his offices. Did you know that? He doesn't have to go in front of the world and say, I just donated $15 billion to the Ukraine to help him. He doesn't have to do any of that garbage. But why does he do it, Elisha? To be seen by men. To be seen by men. He just wants everybody to know we helping out you. We helping out a poor people. We helping out a poor nation. He gives money to Haiti and all these countries. We doing this to help people out. Well, if you really wanted to help them out, you don't give $1 billion to them. You know how you can help Haiti out, right? I mean, you know how you can help Haiti out, right? You can help them out by giving them an economy and not from stealing. If you want to help these black poor nations out so much, America, stop stealing from them and oppressing them. That's real help, Elisha. That's real help. And guess what? America has the power to do it. America could tell France and Europe, stop oppressing the Haitians if they really had a good heart, if they really cared. Here's the problem. This is what you'll find. They don't really care.
Right.
They want you to be oppressed because they get paid from your oppression. And they succeed when you fail. They succeed off. They are successful off of your enslavement and off of your oppression, off of your abortions, off of your drug addiction. They succeed off of that. So they're not going to stop it. They're not going to tell other nations, hey, stop oppressing, like they're doing in Iran now. Right now in Iran, those women in Iran, those Arab Muslim women from the nation of Ishmael, some of them are from Ishmael, some of them are from the tribe, some of them are from Esau. Some of them Arabs over there are white people. And right now, like over in Iran now, those women are going crazy because the Iranian government killed a little Iranian girl. When I say little Iranian girl, I don't mean she was 6 or 7. She was a teenage woman. She was a young woman. And they killed her. Why? Because she took her hijab off in public, which is illegal over there because of their religious beliefs. Well, every Iranian Muslim woman over in Iran, they are over there protesting right now for women to not wear hijabs in public. They are protesting right now. And America, being the devil and deceiving, cunning snake they are in support of Iranian women not wearing hijab, because what's next? Not wearing clothes, like Megan Thee Stallion. So they had all support of feminism and women's rights for Iranian women. And so now we support the women in Iran. America's a goddamn joke. They're not going to do anything that's not going to benefit them. Because guess what's going to happen? When those Iranian women realize, when those little ignorant Iranian girls realize that that they can come over here to America and live a more free life and not wear a hijab, guess what America's going to require of them? Whoredom. America's going to require whoredom from them. And then they're going to realize I had it better over on my homeland, where we wasn't being whores, we wasn't being pimped out, we didn't have to worry about getting raped and molested. We were safe in our homeland by wearing hijabs and staying covered up. America is the devil the Bible speaks of. That's right. The oppressor is the devil the Bible speaks of, and America is so cunning. He's not helping Iranian girls because of out of the kindness of his heart, because it's the right thing to do. He's doing it. He's helping oppressed people because he's going to want something from those people in return. And that's what Christ is telling you about your religious leaders. Christ is telling you what? He's telling you that they are a bunch of hypocrites. That's what he's saying. Don't listen to them. Don't follow them. He's warning you about your destruction if you do follow them. Because if you follow these type of people, you're going to be destroyed. Just like so many of us have been destroyed. George Floyd's life would have been saved had he never been a Christian. Creflo Dollar. The brother up there in New York, Eric Gardner, his life, he would still be alive today had he never been a Christian. Had we never been Christians, our black babies wouldn't be getting aborted 500,000 a year. Our brothers wouldn't be filling up the jail cells 2.5 million with a recidivism rate out through the roof. That wouldn't happen if we never were Christians. And Christ is warning us not to be. Christ is warning us not to listen to your religious leaders. Keep reading now. 23:6.
Verse 6. And love the uppermost rooms at feast, and the chief seats in the synagogues. Verse 7. And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi.
So that's what they want. They want all of the respect, even though they've done nothing to earn it. They want your respect. How do they want your respect? How do they get your respect? By doing what? By their works being done to be seen by men. So now Frank Lucas has all your respect. Now you're going to say Don. Now you're going to say sir. However brothers talk in the world. I don't even know how brothers talk in the world. So, niggas just, they don't speak respectfully. So like it. I don't know what in the hell you would call some cat you respect in the world. I think they call them slime now. I think they say young brothers that are younger than me, they call brothers they respect, or they OGs, they say my slime. Which I don't even know what the hell that is, but I know back in I would say sir. You know what I mean? For respect. These cats now, they just say slime, OG.
Wasn't he saying babe? Wasn't he calling his homeboys babe?
Who?
Young Thug.
I don't know what the hell these cats do.
He was calling them babe.
They do. They call all kind. They call them all God. No, they call them bitch. Other men call each other bitch. That's not respectful, but I guess that's what you call it. That's a term of endearment to young cats. I don't know. I stay out of the world and everything that it has to do with. So I don't even know what they call each other, but you're going to call this cat whatever you call somebody that you respect. Why? Because that is what he's going to require from you for giving you those turkeys on Thanksgiving. He's going to give you turkeys on Thanksgiving, a holiday you should not celebrate anyway because it's unlawful. Christmas, a holiday you shouldn't be celebrating anyway because it's unlawful. He's going to give these things to you that you want and that you need, so you can say, man, that's that cat right there. Nobody hurt him. That's cat. Meanwhile, he's raping all of your women and kids, having sex with men's wives, destroying families. That's the Christian church, Doc. That's the Christian church. It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. You ever heard that phrase before, a bunch of smoke and mirrors? Meaning you think something else than what's really going on. You think that your pastor is really a good person, but behind all of that smoke and mirrors, behind all of that show and all of that talk and rhetoric, he's really a horrible rapist. He's really a violent murderer. He's really a liar and a thief. And God doesn't want you to be like that. Christ doesn't want you to be like the Pharisees and Sadducees, like your religious leaders. He wants you to be a righteous people, a people who don't lie and who don't do things to be seen by men. Now, let's wrap this up and give me my last scripture I want to like. Shall I give me Matthew chapter 4 and start at verse 1.
Kind of the one kind. Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then was Yahushua led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil.
Now this right here is, I'm going into, this is discipline, right? This was the whole class today, discipline. And so like we was just talking about how the Christian church, they're not disciplined. And they won't sacrifice anything for somebody else without there being a benefit or reward for them. Well, that's not being disciplined. Well, this is a precept in a hardcore story about our King Christ being tempted. Being tempted. All right? And this is, of course, was in the spirit of the Day of Atonement, because tonight was the end of the Day of Atonement. So keep going.
Kind of the one kind.
So this is Christ. He's fat. He's being led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted. Knowing that he would be tempted, he still went and he did this. Keep going.
Kind of the kind. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights.
He fasted for how long, God?
40 days. And
24 hours?
40 days.
1 day.
40 days.
Keep going.
And 40 nights.
He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Not 24 hours like some of you cowards couldn't even do. Some cowards out there, they stopped the Day of Atonement right around an hour after sun went down yesterday because they got hungry. Some fake Israelites tried to do it. I tried to keep up, but they couldn't because they just don't have the discipline, because they're cowards. And it takes somebody to have discipline to do this job. It takes, you know what it takes? I ain't going to say this job, because everybody out the nation of Israel who are adults have to keep the Day of Atonement, who are healthy and able-bodied. So it's not even being a priest and prophet. In order to be in the nation of Israel, do you realize you have to be disciplined? Like, do you realize what the Day of Atonement meant? Do you understand how important it is for you to maintain your discipline? To not give in to every lust? Like, even the women have to do it, Elijah. They have to do it, Ak. Women that are not breastfeeding and pregnant, they have to keep the Day of Atonement. And here you are, some man, you have to count your manhood cheap. I just know you do. Like, how could you look at yourself as a man and I run things, but you can't fast for 24 hours? You're a coward. And these women in the Isupk are better than you in those fake Israelite groups.
That's right.
Keep going.
Kind of the kind. He was afterward and hungered. Verse 3. And when the tempter came to him. Salakia. When the tempter came to him.
So, brother, listen. He was tempted and he was hungry, like you were about an hour ago.
Kind of the kind.
If you're in the central, United States of America, because ours ended about an hour ago, right? So if you're in the central time zone, CST, about an hour ago, brother, you was tempted by that fridge. You looking at it, you said, "Man, I can't. I still got 30 more minutes. I still got an hour left." Right? You were tempted, and that's Christ. Christ right here, brother. He was hungry, and he was tempted by Satan, the tempter. Keep reading.
Kind of the one kind. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of the Most High, command that these stones be made bread.
Keep going.
Verse 4. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone.
What did Christ say?
Man shall not live by bread alone.
Say it again.
Man shall not live by bread alone.
Yikes, I mean, that cuts those Christians out in that church.
Man.
Who never fast, who never do anything that doesn't benefit them. Christ is saying something so spiritual here. He cut Satan. Damn. Man shouldn't even live by bread alone. Yeah, I'm hungry, and what? I still have to be disciplined I still have to maintain my integrity. So what if you got hungry but you sin? Like what if you on a fast, right? You doing a Day of Atonement, or you fasting for 40 days and nights like Yahushua. Okay, now what if you were tempted by Satan to go buy a prostitute but you still didn't eat? You failed the test. You understand? Which is what Christ is saying. Man should not live by just bread alone.
Cut it again.
Okay, you're not gonna eat, but damn, don't go buy horse, right? Don't go and smoke weed. You're not eating for 24 hours or for 40. You're doing your fast. Well, damn, don't break it. Don't break it, and don't be tempted to do anything else that is evil too. And that's what Christ is telling Satan. Man don't live by just bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of his mouth. I have to be a brother or sister who is disciplined enough to not only not eat for 24 hours for the Day of Atonement, but I also must never get high too. I also must never buy whores too. I also must never be a thief and a liar and a murderer too. I also must never betray my oath too to the Most High God. I must also be a great human being, a great person with integrity, a good father and a good mother. I also have to do that. You fasting, Elisha, it doesn't do anything. What are you just fasting? What, to fast, but you still buy whores? If you can fast and do this and complete this Day of Atonement, you can give up all of your sins. You can do it.
That's right.
You just proved yourself that you can go without necessities for 24 hours. Without necessities for 24 hours. Guess what you could go without then? The things that you want, that you lust after. And that is heavy, That's fasting, brother. That's the discipline that fasting will teach you if you do it correctly. And this is what we do in the Isupk.
That's right.
Every Day of Atonement. Now, you can make your own fast, set your own fast with your camp leader's permission or with your husband's or wife's permission. But the Bible instructed us, all the nation of Israel who was able-bodied, consenting adult males and females last night, to fast for 24 hours, no food and drink. And we did it in the Isupk. Give yourself another hand. Now, you just have to do this one thing for me. Now, you Christians and you fake Israelites, you have to count your manhood sheep. You have to count yourself short to the Isupk yet again, because here you are, you can't even do the thing that the Most High God ordered us to do on the day that he ordered us to do it. You have to give in to every lust. Not us. Not us. We are disciplined in here, Elisha. You understand? We're disciplined in here. We're men and women that are disciplined because we want to reach a higher goal. We don't want, gold and diamonds from our oppressor and land from our oppressor. One day we are going to rule the planet Earth here in the Isupk because we've made our election sure. We made sure that we are going to be in those seats that rule when Christ returns. And it starts with this right here. It starts with discipline. You're not going to rule anything if you're not disciplined enough to do it. So this is what you should do. You should get in class. You should learn under the foot of your camp leader on how to maintain your discipline and how to be something better than what you are now and what you were in the world. You should come in these classes, man. You should get in these classes, find the nearest school. If you're right here in Kansas City, you in Johnson County, you should come right here in these schools and you should learn discipline, because that is what's going to free you. Not whores, not weed, not lust, not pleasure, not fun, not money, not resources. Discipline is what's our salvation, brother. Discipline is what's going to help you get off of drugs. Discipline is what's going to solve those problems. If you don't have that, you can't achieve the things that you want to achieve. I pray you understand. And with that, I pass the class over to Priest and Officer Elisha. The one.
Cpk Security Announcements. We are the Cpk, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which a brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21. Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew.
my Asherah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. On Sunday, October 9th at sundown, we have the Feast of Tabernacles. And you can find that in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 33 through 44. Salaki, was he saying?
No, I was saying October 9th.
Oh, kind of the skirt, Salaki. Remind Akim and Akwa to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, or war scarf. Salaki. And with that, we're going to give one courtesy salute. Imadium, Salaki. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Imadium Shabbat. Imadium. Barak. Yahba Shimi Ashabrakatah.
Yahba Shimi Ashabrakatah.
Yajimitah. Class dismissed.